This is Michael Kornbluth, your host for the Do It All Dad Year podcast, dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. And this is episode 14, White Privilege Racism. No, he didn't. Saying Obama is responsible for Dow Jones highs is like saying Nino Brown was responsible for getting Pookie off crack and welfare. Obviously, that amazing movie reference is not for you millennial Mouseketeers. Sorry. The rule doesn't exist to please and entertain just you. Has Barack Obama taken credit for birthing the white privilege guilting of having to suck off the Black Panthers flick on Rotten Tomatoes yet? Obama wants to create 1 million of young Obamas. You've radicalized enough jihadists in the FBI already, Barry. So who do you think Obama hates more? Blacks or Jews? I'm going to go with Jews, being a proud Jewish New Yorker myself. But maybe I'm just being a paranoid Jew, which my wife loves to characterize me as on a 24/7 basis. And when it's all said and done, the $150 billion parting gift that Obama gave Iran was in fact for overseas manufacturing jobs for Build-A-Bear to lessen the Iranian economy's reliance on the sale of rugs and hair removal products for the Kardashians. Have you seen the Farrakhan posse pic with Obama yet? It's a picture with Obama and the Farrakhan posse. It looks like the pic of Lambda 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 in Revenge of the Nerds, but way more Muslim Brotherhood happy, like they just ruined European vacations for the Griswold's grandchildren for the foreseeable future. Has Spike Lee penned a script for 1 million Obama clones yet? Mass extermination of all of his hook-nosed, Lower East Side critics with Obama Terminator clones would be a guess. Of course Obama is against background checks and U.S. citizenship questions. His resume as the great uniter is thinner than Kathy Griffin's. So I'm in Norway. I mentioned it before in the podcast. I did spring break in Norway. Out and about by myself. Got into a conversation with a local bartender. And of course, it was just a matter of time before she professed her love for Barack Obama. Naturally. I'm quoting her exactly. She says, "I love Obama." And I'm thinking, of course you do. You're a blind Norwegian bartender who also thinks the Oslo Accords were good intentions. And what flat-chested blonde Norwegian bartender wouldn't be in love with Barack Obama? Chances are you also think the Iran deal was a deal of the century for persecuted Palestinians. And I would bet everything I own that you would double-team James Woods and Oliver Stone if Sean Penn double-dared you to do it. So, for the record, what I did learn in Norway is that Bernie Sanders, the fake socialist that he is, Bernie Sanders has never been to Norway. That's like saying Obama never went body surfing in its adopted homeland of Hawaii after another terror wave held America's sense of security hostage under Barry. Obama's a gentleman. Did he write a handwritten thank you note to Sadiq Khan for making Sharia law in London go mainstream? I'm a degenerate Jew who sucks at math, so help me out here. Trump basically got the same number of votes as Barack Obama. So the 63 million branded racists who voted for Obama are in the middle of a born-again white supremacist crisis? I don't get it. Michelle Obama compared Trump to an irresponsible parent who lets his kids eat candy all day. But in reality, Michelle raised a daughter who passed out in a mosh pit at Lollapalooza on more than just fun day. This is my impersonation of the Obamas during last Thanksgiving dinner. This is Barack Obama. Malaya, you barely touch your tofurkey. But it's already been 2 months since they pumped your stomach at Lollapalooza. How many times did I tell you growing up to never mix IPAs, Adderall, and almond weed brownies on an empty stomach? It's now official. Michelle Obama isn't running for president for 2020. What would be your campaign slogan anyway? Obama's 5 o'clock shadow government part 2? American kids, surprise, surprise, have the highest self-esteem in the world, despite no records of actual accomplishments. Okay, so that's one accomplishment of Obama's, besides renaming ISIL, so they sound more startup-friendly on Facebook. Jay-Z says we must talk about why white men are so privileged in this country. But he's boys with Obama. Just ask his "I'm rich, bitch" half then. Obama only charges Zionist Jew devil haters on Wall Street for such precious pearls of wisdom. Obama's a gentleman. Are you kidding me? He hasn't kept his mouth shut since 64 million branded racists by fake news voted his brand of race-divisive, radical Islamist, apologist politics out the door. He'll be on Netflix next month, painting drone-scourged landscapes with W. Very classy gentleman indeed. Apparently, it's racist to point out any flaw in Obama's time as President of the United States for 8 years. Because a new commandment has been declared from Nancy Denture Duns Pelosi, which is that all Americans must suck off Obama in public and in private till our last dying breath, or else run the risk, or else definitely be branded a racist by elitist white people with no black friends forevermore. This is my impersonation of business merger talk between Dr. Dre and Eminem. Hey Slim, Microsoft paid $3.7 billion for LinkedIn. Word! LinkedIn is lamer than ever, yo! Eminem thinks Trump is a racist. Actually, Trump lifted a ban on Jewish membership at Mar-a-Lago. Slim on fact shady. I was in a sports memorabilia shop yesterday with my two sons. And I notice a Colin Kaepernick. I notice a signed Colin Kaepernick jersey on the wall. And I say, no members of Antifa have rushed to snag your signed Colin Kaepernick jersey yet? You'd think their allowance from George Soros could afford such a cheap expenditure. So I talk about this episode being called white privilege racism. You can call it reverse racism. No, he didn't, because it exists. For example, the great R. Lee Ermey, who played the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, died this past week at 74. From what I read online, after he was vocal about the economy sucking out loud, which it did under Obama. It's not a black or a white thing. It's just an actual reality thing. And apparently, all his work dried up after that. Everyone ganged up against him in Hollywood. Now, that, my friends, is a blatant case of reverse white patriotic racism. Undeniable. I don't know about you, but after seeing that one scene when he finds out how tall Lawrence is, and he says, "How tall are you, Lawrence?" 6'6". I don't know shit. Stack that high. I butchered it. Again, my point. He was one of a kind. Apparently, he ad-libbed a lot of that dialogue too. So he was like the Bill Murray of drill sergeants for good old Stanley Kubrick. So I was at a Lego store yesterday. You know, today I go to the mall sometimes with my kids. And because the weather's been abysmal here back east, so trying to maintain some sanity. And I'm at a Lego store, and the Lego store worker asked, "Are you a VIP member?" And I said, "Do VIP members get premium apple juice service? Are we talking pureed Fuji apples or what?" I can get away doing PG soft serve humor, but I don't know if that's really consistent with me doing me, which is we're going to revisit that theme towards the end of this podcast when I'm going to actually read to you a speech. I think it's my best piece of writing ever, so it's definitely something to look forward to, called Doing You, which I wrote in preparation to be considered for a part-time writer's assistant position at a charter school in Harlem, which did not work out because of white privilege, reverse racism. No, he didn't. Yes, I did. Can we stop calling Stormy Daniels a porn star? She had zero brand name recognition a year ago. Now, Jenna Jameson was a porn star. But calling Stormy Daniels a porn star is like calling Lexington Steele a sideline freak. This is my mom. It's my birthday today. So I'm in better spirits than most. I have a good friend from college that I've rekindled a relationship with. I now consider him my best friend. We profess our love for each other all the time. I'm very grateful for it. God's always come through with me whenever I really don't need a good bud. Prior to Dave, this person would be my friend Jason Lesner, J Master J. And this was when I was in Hermosa Beach. And I was in really bad shape. I got fired from a wine sales job. And I used to hang out with this guy at a wine shop across the street. And we were doing what I thought was cocaine. Turned out it was crystal meth. At the time, I just thought it was very high-powered cocaine, because after 2 lines, I felt like a coked-out Tony the Tiger going, "This shit is great!" And then eventually, I'm literally, I do not wish this scenario on my worst enemy. So I'm packing and I'm getting ready to move to Sherman Oaks to move my friend Jay. I'm convinced God had him call me. Jay and I were close. We took some trips to Tijuana together. We'd worked at a previous company prior. He's the one that introduced me to this company called the Thor Group in Manhattan Beach. Very grateful for it because it gave me an out to finally break up with my girlfriend at the time, Erica. I'm grateful for her because she saw this creative potential in me that I knew it existed, but I certainly didn't have confidence at the tender age of 22 thinking I could make a career off of it. And she worked for a prominent literary agency called Kaplan Thaler. They represented David Angel, who died during 9/11. And we got very encouraging feedback early on. And I was the main idea machine. I felt that she was trying to exploit me for all I was worth. She did the typing. Eventually I got a final draft. I'm like, okay, I can do this myself. But she always said, Josh, I just want you to commit to this. And I also think you should take a break from the ganj and see how far you can go with this. So, Erica, if you're listening out there, this is the year where I plan on doing it. After tonight, of course. We're going to have one last fun time with my friend Dave, who I never get to go to Manhattan anymore. And my wife already called me out. She goes, so when you come back from picking up your ganj today, can I take you out to lunch? My wife really knows to make me feel extra special on my birthday. But we'll get to more of that birthday material later. But back to the crystal meth thing. Because my wife hates it when I bring this up, but I don't care. It's my birthday. It's my podcast. This is me doing me. And I also want to educate. A future podcast episode down the road will be called Raising My Drug-Free Children, which I'm very serious about. Because I've had my own issues, so has my younger brother. And in this day and age, heroin is an epidemic. People do Percocet, they get addicted. Then they start doing heroin because they can't afford Percocets and Oxycontin, and then you have what we have in our country right now, which is an epidemic. It's not just a black thing, a white thing, it's an every person thing, and it's ridiculous. And thank God the Trump administration got some money in for their budget allotment to actually deal with this crisis. Because as far as I'm concerned, just designating certain areas that are considered commercial friendly, safe zones to shoot up, I don't think it's going to be enough to fix this epidemic. I think there's a much deeper problem at hand. Mainly, God forbid, persecuting the doctors that are overprescribing these drugs, giving out like Skittles. I have no idea how government's going to do that when the FBI is able to get away with murder, but that's a different story down the line. So, but yeah, back to the crystal meth story. So, I'm totally winded. I literally had to take breaks going up the stairs and down. I had to literally crash on my couch for like 20 minutes at a time just to regain energy. I didn't even do that much. I mean, we're talking like a couple, maybe like 4 bumps in total, okay? Up for 48 hours later, and then I say to this guy that I did it with, I'm like, dude, that was some really strong coke. I have never felt this winded before. He's like, dude, it was crystal meth. I go, crystal meth? What are you, crazy? And he goes, I thought you knew the difference. And I said, what the fuck is this? The Pepsi Challenge? Finally, that joke came together. Thank you, Lord. Plan on making you a very happy man this year. So, moving forward. And I love the fact that I talk to God as much as I do now because I did not ever have this consistent relationship with him in my life, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm hoping that the radio show managers down south in Nashville, where I'm going to be applying for talk show radio jobs, will be receptive to it too. Because I gotta hope, deep down inside, that love of God, country, ball busting, being politically correct when deserved is still appreciated and celebrated in this country on top of freedom of speech. For the record, I don't need to curse to get my points across. And I don't need to rely on lesbian validate either. Howard, you're great. I'm not trying to completely dump on your legacy, but you understand where I'm coming from. So, who's calling? It's my birthday. It's definitely not my mother, because I already had that conversation 4 days ago. Her saying, so we're going to be in Israel on your birthday, so we're calling to wish you a happy birthday now. And because there's like the time difference thing, I said, you know what, Mom? How about you pray at the Western Wall for stronger time management skills then? So, I was talking about this being my birthday. So, I got a card from my mother yesterday. She says she misses our conversations. And because we're not very close these days, for many reasons, I don't want to get into it. I've talked about it before. But, you know, it mainly stemmed from them guilt-shaming us or house-shaming us. What I mean by that is we live in a home here. We were very fortunate to get it. We actually received a housing grant. I call it my comedy grant if I ever really want to truly piss off my mom and dad. My wife had applied for it. Typically, I know it's completely ridiculous and preposterous, and it takes incredible, unmitigated gall to title an episode White Privilege Reverse Racism when a white Jewish boy from Westchester County, one of the most affluent suburbs in the nation, in the end was a beneficiary of a housing grant in the form of $40,000 by New York State. But, you know, they say that shame doesn't exist and it doesn't eat up your soul when you throw it out there so people can be empathetic. Now, the only reason I'm saying this, and it's not to, you know, to receive any sort of like empathy, like, oh, I feel bad for you because your parents make you feel like a degenerate and a total waste, and why they spend all this money on college, you know, for you to receive a housing grant. And the major issues with my mom stem from when we got the grant 2 Thanksgivings ago, her saying, I'm just so disappointed, you know, this isn't, you know, why I raised my son in Westchester. She's from Kentucky originally. So, yeah, that was not something that I wanted to hear. I also had to hear about how we had black neighbors, as if this was like an awful blight. You know, meanwhile, we have a vet who fought in Vietnam, who I've become semi-close with. I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan of him in the world, but, you know, he accepts me for who I am. If I talk to him, he'll ask me, so what am I doing with the jokes? Who am I sending them to? At least he acknowledges, you know, like what I'm shooting for. Acknowledges the funny, the God-given gift. Once I'm hanging out blasting Bruce Springsteen. This is what he says to me. They lied to us. They lied to us. Very powerful moment. Never would have had that moment if. And again, thank God Donald Trump is president of the United States, who has completely revamped the Vets Hospital, has made it easier to get rid of those awful doctors and nurses that don't give our vets the care they deserve. And I'm pretty sure he's making sure that the vets can get the ganja without paying out of pocket to deal with any sort of pain, PTSD that they are suffering from. And if there's a God in heaven, and I know there is, the vets have deserved the right to puff and enjoy the medicinal, beautiful, beautifying effects of the ganja that's now like legal in Colorado. As far as I'm concerned, you know, Seth Rogen and McMuffin, you know, shouldn't be stinking up their cabanas on the Sony lot while the next coming of Ron Kovac has to basically, you know, puff resin from his super clogged one-hitter because he hasn't been able to afford new ganj since since the last millennium. And it's not like troops get paid that much. Also, President Trump has told Marines, I am giving you a pay raise. You deserve it. I love that. I've been saying it forever. Yes, the government pays for your education, but, I mean, their salaries are nothing. And for what they give and sacrifice, I love my president. If that, I believe in God and I believe in my country. And I know there are a lot of people that love Donald Trump because he stands for freedom of speech and for protecting our country. And I know deep down that me professing these values that I hold dear will in the end benefit me and my family and not work against me, because I don't subscribe to this false narrative that anyone that voted for Donald Trump is a racist. You know, if anything, I don't understand. They would say, I don't understand the black community. Oh, you always hear how the black community, they're such big fans of Hillary. I mean, can you be any more of an out-of-touch elitist than for it requiring you 6 times to get your MetroCard to work? Do you guys remember that failed debacle of a Photoshop opportunity? By the 6th swipe, Hillary Hammer Time Kankles gave herself a pep talk saying, black people are watching. You can do it! So, I was talking about my birthday before. I go on many inspired rants, I know. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast. It's me doing me. So yesterday, I was talking about my mom and before, about getting the birthday card from her. And the only line was, I miss our conversations. Oh, so just to explain, so the root of us, not being so close these days. So it's basically 3 talking points. Number 1, ages ago, her saying, I can't respect your career path as far as going after a career in comedy. That's number 1. And that was after I showed Promise, The New Yorker, Shots and Murmurs got back to me. I actually wrote a piece called What Type of Beer Does Obama Keep in the Fridge? And I actually got scathingly funny. So I don't know how I was working with The New Yorker right now, but, they are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. They've got brainwashed. They're resistors. I'm just convinced. I don't know what they are. I don't understand. I just don't buy this anti-American hysterics. And Trump is a New Yorker. I mean, where's the love? He's a synonymous. Ugh. So there was that issue with my mom, and then afterwards there was the housing grant. And there was the housing grant, and then after that, they said, my dad's like, we had a 3rd child that wasn't planned, and my dad goes, listen, you need a bigger house. If you want help, we'll help you out with it. It never felt right with me. So I'm thinking, why would God give us this house? So, which is a true gift from God. And then my parents just give us money to get a new one. It never sat well with me. I only did it for my wife, and I had no leverage at all whatsoever, which completely sucks. That's why I don't get it. When Jay-Z wrote that cheating song, right? And we're apparently he's complaining about his marriage woes with Beyonce. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm thinking, but you make way more money than her and you're still Jay-Z. So I don't really see the loss of leverage here. But, so it never sat well with me. And in the end, my parents bailed out. They said, I think it was because the house was too nice and nicer than their estate in Arizona. That's my theory. I also think my younger brother got involved a little bit because he was with the girl, he was serious, and now they're married. So that premise is materializing true, but I decided to, make peace with my brother. In the end, I think this is more of my parents not really having their hearts in it as much as they thought as far as making that commitment to spend time back east with their grandchildren during the summers. And I think, and it sucked because I still love my wife. I could bust her balls and be hypercritical, but I mean, she cried, when I found out that, because the agreement was my in-laws were going to, my father-in-law was going to co-sign, but in order for us to get for him to co-sign, we needed to put a certain amount for a down deposit. We needed X. And then my parents only decided to give a portion of that. And they're like, yeah, so we don't think this is in your best interest. And we had no idea that there were any contingencies, that they had final green light power, final cut over this process. So I'm happy for it. I'm glad it happened. My parents are in Israel right now. Wish them the best. And in the end, I didn't want their assistance anyway. Because what man in this world? I mean, listen. Like Bob Dylan says, "Call me someone that's not a parasite, and I'll say a prayer from him." But when it's all said and done, at 41 with 3 kids, it's nice if your parents could help. And listen, most of us, even our parents before us, they got help for a down deposit in order to buy a home, and they also did not have to deal with 2 recessions and 9/11 and an awful economy. They can't relate to anything that people of my generation have gone through at all whatsoever. So that level of elitism is insufferable. So my attitude was, well, you're content being in Arizona all the time, basically while people are dropping dead out in the street. So you want to help out. You want to showcase your true love and help the betterment of the Kornbluth family? Go ahead. Never sat right with me. Always trust your gut, people. I should have stood up and told my wife no, because it would have saved us a lot of grief and a lot of awful fighting, with my parents and me having to take a break from even wanting to talk to them. I don't want that. I'm not trying to create any bad will over here. Money complicates everything. Earn your own money. And then for you to have a relationship with your parents, established out of, mutual respect and love and interest in their hobbies and passions. That to me is the idealized relationship. And when you have a dream and you show some promise, your parents saying, go for it, make it happen. Don't stop believing. Don't stop. Okay. Ruined my inspired flow right there. So, birthday. Mom says in the birthday card, I miss our conversations. And I'm thinking, Dad must be repeating himself more than usual, huh? So I'm at a bakery yesterday. Great bakery here in Summers. And I say, I want to get myself a birthday cake for myself before my wife does, to make her feel less sweet around me than usual for accusing me of white privilege 2 nights ago. Despite my pro-Trump views working against me, getting a fucking phone interview for any job I've applied for in New York City so far, which for the most part is the dead honest truth. This is a birthday request denied. I tell my wife, don't make me a birthday lunch, babe. She says, but I was going to make something myself anyway. And I'm thinking, so you're more concerned with wasting food than making me feel extra special today? So in the bakery, and this happened yesterday, and I said, I want to get a birthday cake a day in advance to make my wife feel intentionally insufficient. And I'm going on this rant. I'm being animated. I mean, I'm putting on a show a little bit. Manufactured rage, with some truth and justification behind it. And the bakery, so I'm going, I am definitely in the zone, but I'm being very loud as usual. More loud, actually. But I'm getting laughs. And then out of nowhere, this Italian grandma figure emerges from the kitchen, and she says, wow, I almost called the cops because I was so loud. She says, how long have you been married? I said, 6 years. The baker lady says, it won't last 7. And I'm thinking, but I'm sure your husband stayed because of your adorable chin stubble. So this is my impersonation of a conversation with your dealer bud on your birthday. Dealer bud says, I got 2 types of birthday bud. And the client says, whatever batch is less brain raping intense is ideal for me. So anyone who retweets a thought by Stephen King is disturbing, assuming they become smarter and more enlightened or love because of it. Wife asks, do you love Cortana? And I'm thinking, because the reason why she asked that question is because we have this new great speaker, this Harlem speaker, and it's powered by Cortana. It's hooked up to the Spotify, so it's great. And I'm having a field day with it. And my wife asked, do you love Cortana? And I'm thinking, I have no problem adding her to the snuggling mix, but tell her to stop playing Elvis Presley again, and we're sleeping on the couch together. Love this conversation. Wife says, at this point, should I just think you're unemployable? No, you should think my star power, personality, and jokes are greater than most. I know some of you would second the motion. Can I get a amen? I said amen. I can't wait for AP history books to rewrite the rise of Obama. So this is my sample paragraph. Obama revisionist history, considering the AP history bookmakers are having so much fun doing that at Donald Trump's expense and the voters that voted him President of the United States, fair and square. Here we go. So this is the AP history bookmakers rewriting the rise of Barack Obama. So Bush getting sober had zero impact on his brain becoming less muddled than before. Neither did finding Jesus. So Obama winning against Tina Fey and the stiff Mormon was a walk in the park. Did you know tobacco companies spend $1 million an hour on marketing? I didn't know Haitian immigrants got paid hefty salaries. to hawk James Dean coffee mugs in Times Square, did you? So a tourist says, I don't care. I'm in Manhattan not too long ago. I think I was doing an open mic. And this tourist out of the blue made this comment. Totally infuriated me. This tourist said, I don't care for Times Square. And I'm thinking, so the Indian adult toy store workers who stare at you like you're the peep show give you the creeps too? What a relief! I'd hate to be accused of sex toy shop worker phobia too. Tourist says, I don't care for Times Square. I think James Dean is unfazed either way, Pearl. Blatant example of literal symbolism. The logo for Brooks Brothers is a sheep. That's for you, Charles Bukowski. Long live the king. So the 30 for 30 on Tommy the Gun Morrison is a must-see. He was knocking out 20-year-old fighters in the ring at 15. Still believe the Rocky he was in. Totally underrated. Outside of the premise of Paulie possessing the power of attorney out of the blue to blow Rocky's entire fortune in one swoop. Tommy Gun Morrison's brother in the doc on the 30 for 30 blames Tommy Gunn's sexual promiscuous behavior, which led him to getting HIV, on their father. He describes it as learned behavior. So that's why my son never wants to get married. Around mama, he hears me doing more sighing than moaning. Ric Flair says, to be the man, you must beat the man. Translation for me, make it as a talk show radio host to prove you're no longer an average schmuck in a headset like the rest. Contained to your former open office, cubicle chained existence. Do you know what would cause World War III? Forget Trump targeting chemical weapon sites in a very precise manner. No. That's not going to cause World War III. What's going to cause World War III is if the New York Times described the black guys arrested at Starbucks in Philly as black dudes just chilling with their posse. LeBron James will be forced to think of never escaping MJ's shadow again. So this is my doing you speech. I think it's the best thing I've ever written. I spill my heart. And you tell me, you be the judge if I was a victim of white privilege, reverse racism. I might even read you a couple of paragraphs. We'll see if it catches my spirit or not. Here we go. Doing you. Imagine me giving this speech in front of a bunch of teen African Americans going to a charter school. And I'm going to make it this very clear right now. You are not a black-loving, so-called liberal if you're anti-charter school. When the entire point of charter schools is to provide access to quality education that doesn't exist otherwise. And all that means, if you're anti-charter school, is that you have some sort of relationship. Maybe you're married to a wife that's in the teachers union and she's a sucky teacher and she's just content doing the bare minimum. I know that's not the majority of public school teachers, but I also know that after 2 years, it's impossible to fire anyone that sucks out loud. So that's a problem. And who hurts the most from that? African American kids, especially when they're being denied actual school space for charter schools thanks to Mayor Burbrain de Blasio. Another fake so-called well-meaning progressive. Liberal. Progressive actually means forward-thinking, so I don't know why the hell he's called a progressive. Anyway, doing you. Here we go. Today, I'm going to teach you kids about doing you. Because that's all you got in this world that makes you stand out from the pack. Who just wants to fit in and be like everyone else? I know I don't, and you shouldn't either. Because you're New Yorkers. And New Yorkers find a way to make themselves heard no matter what. When they especially consider stopping it, not when they consider stopping it, but New Yorkers find a way to make themselves heard no matter what. Despite their wife relegating their podcast that is a reciprocator of their blood, sweat, and tears, especially when your wife reduces those podcasts to the mere rantings of a madman. So in this class, I want to hear your truth. I want your personality to fill this classroom hole. I want your writing voice tattooed in my brain. I want to feel the depths of your beautiful rage on the page. That's how great art is made. Writing is the most productive, empowering way to process your hate and release the rage from your heart. So you end up getting in the last word, not the other way around. Writing lets you flip the script and reshape the narrative more to your liking. Who wouldn't want to partake in that? We've all heard of Nasty Nas, right? Well, we all can't be anointed rap prodigies at 22 and have our jazz musician father reappear in our life years later to do bus stop Gap ads together all throughout the island of Manhattan, can't we? Still, what made Nas such an original force of nature was him doing him in his own street smart, super witty, sly message, empowering way. And obviously still doing it. And there's no reason why you can't mind your own feelings about your city and your place in it to learn what you're made of and most passionate about doing the most. Nas says, my fun is not doing the easy work. My fun is doing what's me. And the world is yours, kids, as long as you make a commitment to yourself right now to only do you. Promise yourself that you'll never try to be like Mike or Jay-Z. Make a commitment to yourselves right now that the only way you'll break through the noise and be heard in this world is by doing you. You could only achieve true joy in life by doing you. Your brothers, sisters, bosses, so-called friends, and all the haters in the world can never take that away from you. And the gun-shy sheep, sporting Brooks Brothers for a living, that give in to fear, that never bare their souls in life, who never live to bleed their souls on the page or on the mic, are never fully alive. Instead, they're content doing SEO marketing or corporate communications for some PR firm in Minnesota. No. You guys are New Yorkers. New Yorkers are larger than life. You make your presence felt everywhere you go. You were born to be loud and proud, whether it be on the page or off. The rumble of the Lex and red lines roar through your veins. Embrace the grit, the grime, and the grinds. These are the elements of success for all scrappy New Yorkers at heart. And I've got, I'd say, 3 more pages to this. And I'll read my last paragraph. And then you guys be the judge about whether I was a victim of white privilege racism. Not complaining about it. I'm trying to call out the fact that racism works both ways. There's also black supremacists too. And the fact that, this culture has been created where it's, considered so deplorable to call the hypocrisy. And you got people on Twitter and Facebook trying to silence those dissenting views that are basically truth bombs incarnate is a very scary sign. And I pray to God that changes sooner than later. Thank God for podcasts. So I wrap up the speech saying, don't be an unoriginal know-it-all bore that never created anything of lasting value in their life. The world already has my mother-in-law for that. Please don't end up like her. Only do you. Being her isn't any fun, trust me. So much for me holding back here. The Chaz Palmiotti, who wrote the movie Bronx Tale, says, nothing is more tragic. She's not going to listen to this anyway. Here we go. Chaz Palmiotti, who wrote the movie Bronx Tale, says, nothing is more tragic than wasted talent. You wouldn't be in this school if you didn't have any. Now is the time to let the world into that special, unique heart that makes you, you. Life moves faster than Usain. Life moves faster than Usain Bolt. Trust me. Now is the time to start digging deep, make mistakes, and be messy with your feelings. Don't worry about being perfect. The key is throwing down the gauntlet and allowing yourself to be wild on the page or on the mic. Get all of your crazed teenage angst on the page, on the mic, and not on the streets, where you can inflict some actual real harm on yourself and your loved ones that last forever. Do you. Nothing's more fun to explore. That's real freedom. So wave your freak flag high and do your own version of the Star Spangled Banner like Jimi Hendrix one day. Or what Fergie recently did. It was a personification of sex on a stick. I loved her version too. Only then, when you wave your free flag high and do your own version of the Star Spangled Banner like Jimmy or Fergie, only then can you ask, have you ever been experienced? And then say, with an all-knowing grin, well, I have. This is Do It All Dad Year podcast. Dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Talk to you guys soon.